What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim back with another video, and believe it or not, it took me about 2 years, but I finally got around to finishing Tom Clancy's The Division 2. Now, this review is going to cover the base game. I might be talking a little bit about the Black Tusk Invasion post-credits, and maybe a little bit about the Warlords of New York expansion, but this is really just focusing on that base experience. And there's a lot to unpack here. So let's dive in, but before we do, you guys have a very simple job to do, and that's to subscribe. Ultimately, Tom Clancy's The Division 2 is a phenomenal experience, and my history with the game dates back to getting it on PC. I actually bought it there first. It had beautiful ultra-wide, I can max everything out, great draw distance, tons of particle effects, and that trademark really cool overlay on top of everything, whether it's crazy HUD elements or the echoes that you would find, or even just navigating around the menus in the game. They have done a phenomenal job of making this game just pop and feel like it belongs in the future. No doubt about it. I kind of burnt out on it though, and none of my friends were playing with me, and I was like, and I kind of just moved on. About 6 or so months ago, it reappeared on the PlayStation. I picked it up there because it included the Warlords of New York expansion for cheaper than buying the Warlords of New York expansion standalone on the Ubisoft store, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll go ahead and give it a whirl, and I'm really glad that I did. I played some co-op, I played some single player. I think this, with any other game, is definitely better with your friends. But it's absolutely manageable playing on your own, largely because you're going to get some really cool gadgets that are going to really kind of change the way you fight. And I think you're going to find that you can be intelligent enough and use cover to your advantage to really avoid getting flanked. And really the easiest way to avoid getting flanked, honestly, is not to be too aggressive. It's very easy to just start doing that Gears of War wall bouncing crap where you're jumping from cover point to cover point, shooting enemies, running over walls. And while that is fun to play, towards the later stages of the game, you're going to be punished for that because the enemies are going to be coming too hard, they're going to hit too fast, and you're not going to be able to recover. So it really does pay to kind of stay in that mid to back range. Now, it's still really a viable submachine gun range, although I think if you're a sniper, you're going to have the most fun because you can be shooting enemies at a really long distance. And the AI does seem to struggle just a bit when it comes to some of those long distance shots. They're not really sure quite what to do. Between that and some of the really cool offensive gadgets you get, I exclusively use the turret, but there are some other really cool offensive weapons as well that will really allow you to kind of like turn that tide of war, which is great. So it's a phenomenal, experience in just the gunplay part. And I think if this game was just a very basic, boring shooter, it would still be phenomenal because gun recoil, gun modding, the upgrade system, the gear system, it's all incredibly intuitive and it makes sense and it's fun to enjoy and have a good time with. But this game has more layers to it. There is an actual story that is a continuation loosely off of the first Division, and in this game you're kind of sweeping up by taking out various factions by attacking like key strongholds. And each of these missions plays out very similar. You're going to go in, shoot a bunch of people, you're either going to rescue some sort of hostage, or you're going to, flip a lever or push a button or just kill somebody, which kind of makes the area safe. And that will unlock more stuff for you to do. And it's a typical Ubisoft collectathon. Over time, you're going to be going around picking up recordings and little artifacts and just different things to complete your collection. It gives you experience really more than anything else. But you're going to have fun, really. And I think this is the other layer that, piles onto this incredible this gunplay here. Is the story is fun, but it's told so well through the environments. And if you're a fan of American history like I am, or if you're a patriot like I am, you're going to absolutely enjoy spending time going through the nation's capital, seeing all of these recreations and how, Ubisoft has done such a phenomenal job to expertly craft certain areas of the mall and some of the other, major monuments in the area. And it's really, really neat to see. Obviously, it's been transformed horrifically as these gangs have taken over and destroyed things, and there's wreckage, and statues are defaced, and buildings are gone or, heavily damaged. But the environment in which you walk through everything tells such a beautiful story in between everything that I think you're going to have a lot of fun just gawking at how much detail went into everything. And I think Ubisoft really needs to be complimented for this, because they did such a great job of making everything feel so unique and so different. Despite the fact that the gunplay itself does feel samey, and the loot chasing system does feel samey. You got a gun that does 1 damage, you got a gun that does 2 damage. Well, okay, time to upgrade, right? Outside of that, though, you have these hooks that bring you back as you kind of walk through these areas, and you're going to explore very distinct parts of the city that really feel radically different from other parts of the city. And I think that's what makes it so much fun when you layer in that other element to it. There's a skill system, as I mentioned. There is a crafting system. Each area that you go to has these various settlements that you can unlock as fast travel points. You can buy more stuff there. They have additional missions. They have additional things that they need. And you are really doing world building. I mean, by the time you're done, you will radically transform Washington into a very different place than when you started, because you've taken over so many settlements. You'll start to see friendly patrols in certain areas. And additionally, enemy strongholds will start to wither, and you will see less and less enemies in the open world. So you will get a sense of accomplishment that you are cleaning up the streets, which I think is really, really cool. It's not like a major transformation in terms of the entire map changes radically, or these settlements that you've procured clean up the surrounding areas. Nope, there's still going to be cars on fire and buses on fire and litter and graffiti everywhere. But at least you kind of get this sense that it's a little bit safer, which I thought was cool. I would love to see The Division 3 take that idea that I just mentioned to the next level, where you really are transforming things. But for right now, that's limited to each settlement, as you'll unlock different hubs that unlock new missions, which give you special gun attachments or rewards or experience or cosmetic items for taking on unique challenges. But that's just inside the settlement. That unfortunately doesn't expand out into the city streets, but maybe one day it will. The real highlight of this game, though, is definitely the end game, particularly the strongholds. Now, the strongholds are still part of the main story. To me, once you complete the last stronghold and the Black Tusk Invasion begins, that's where this review stops. But those last strongholds you do leading into the game are unlike anything else, and these really feel like end game zones. You will face multiple high-ranked yellow enemies those are the elite ones that do particularly just a lot of damage. They usually have different looks, cosmetics, names, everything. They're just very, very distinct enemies. But not only that, but some of the things you're actually doing are going to be different. And it's these little, excursions that take place inside of these really long missions, 30, 45-minute missions, which I did solo. However, I could see, again, how much fun it would be playing with a friend. But I did solo through these last missions at the end on my own. Really are very, very different and fun. And I think it's some of the best the game has to offer. By then, you become a master in your craft, and you know what your strengths are in terms of how your gear is spec'd. You understand a little bit more in terms of if you have more health or more firepower. You've unlocked some of the perks using the shade system, which is going to give you, abilities that are passive abilities, like you're undercover and you shoot more accurately, or you heal faster, or whatever. You combine that with your guns, and then all of the trinkets that you've kind of unlocked, and these really powerful gadgets that you're ready to unleash, and you really feel very well equipped by then. And I think that was really cool. I remember thinking as I was playing through this, wow, if I just ran here now, despite the level disparity, of course, I would not be really ready for this. But I feel like I've kitted out my character in such a great way, and I really own my character now, and it made me feel more powerful going through these. And then, of course, these huge cinematic sweeping moments. Some of the gameplay that you're seeing here is from those final stages. Just very powerful, as you're taking back the city, finally driving out these villains. once and for all trying to liberate, and reestablish the Division and reestablish a foothold in America, essentially, after this horrific apocalypse. It really does all come together in such a beautiful way. And then just when you think it's done, that's when the Black Tusk Invasion begins, and the game radically turns on its head, and everything you think you know is different, and it is a totally new experience. And I will be talking about that once I complete that area. But I'm still kind of in that transition period right now in my gameplay, and I thought I would at least say, listen, if you do nothing else, go buy this game. I don't care what platform. Go buy this game and play it. At least get to the point where you liberate the city right as the Black Tusk appears. I think that is a phenomenal experience in of itself. There's plenty to do, but you don't have to do it if you don't want to. A lot of it just boils down to experience, but there's a lot of lore, and there's a lot of fun little exploration and Easter eggs and places to climb and loot and treasure to find if you want to do it, but you don't have to. But you're going to have a blast loading up, getting your character stronger, learning how to play the game, and enjoying some incredibly polished incredibly polished third-person shooting. So major seal of approval for me on this one, an absolute blast. I really thought after I beat the game I was going to be done. I'm kind of one of those people that doesn't really go back and do the epilogue or the cleanup stuff, but this game has really changed my opinion on that. And I just got done playing for about 3 hours as I stopped to do this review for you guys now. And I honestly want to finish and go back upstairs and play some more. It is that fun. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this love letter to the Division 2. Leave some comments below. Let me know your thoughts on everything leading up to the Black Tusk Invasion. Don't give me too much ahead. That video will be covered later in the future. And yeah, with that, enjoy your weekend, everyone. Please take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.